Shri Naveen Jintal.
Thank you. Honorable Chairman, sir, I am grateful to you for granting me this opportunity to speak on this budget. First and foremost, I extend my heartiest congratulations to Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman ji for presenting the budget for a record 7th time. Sir, this budget is an important step in the spectacular journey of our country to be developed by 2047. The unprecedented development and progress witnessed by us during the last decade under the inspiring leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, is admirable. Admirable because at a time when most of the countries, including the developed ones, were facing economic challenges and challenges on other front, India, in spite of its very large population and diversity, has set an example of a truly welfare state and a model economy. Sir, we are already the 5th largest economy in the world, and in the next few years we are going to go on to become the 3rd largest. This is a great achievement, something that we can all be very proud of. Sir, when we see the budget from a social perspective, it is not just a Bahujan Hitay, Bahujan Sukhay, but a Sarvjan Hitay, Sarvjan Sukhay budget. It contains welfare measures and schemes for the marginalized and the deprived, including the women, the poor, the farmers, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and the youth, who constitute more than 65% of our population. But sir, I find it sad that not a single word of appreciation has come from the honorable members adorning the benches in front of us. If it is only for the sake of criticism, then in my view, they are at risk of losing their credibility. Sir, due to paucity of time, I will limit myself only to 2 of the budget priorities. First, productivity and resilience in agriculture. Second, employment and skilling. Hopefully, my honorable friends will be able to appreciate the budget at least on these 2 critical points. Sir, agriculture and farmer welfare has been allocated a mammoth sum of 1.95 lakh crore rupees, and urban and rural development has been allocated 2.65 lakh crores. This is indeed very laudable step and will certainly go a long way in improving the lot of our annadatas, the hands that feed us. Sir, through your kind self, I would like to draw the attention of this august House to a pioneering measure included in this budget of initiation of 1 crore farmers to natural farming by our Honorable Prime Minister. So there is a growing realization that only natural farming is the most health-friendly, environmentally sustainable form of farming. It is much better compared to chemical farming. It is much more economical than organic farming. Sir, our Honorable Prime Minister has been a strong votary of natural farming and has been spearheading this noble cause. We are thankful to him for making this a reality in this budget. I am confident that this would not be a game changer only for India, but for the entire world. Sir, as all the honorable members of this august House are well aware, that due to unabated use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, weedicides, etc., Mother Earth will be soon rendered barren. The food that most of us consume is toxic and full of harmful elements, leading to cancer and various other serious ailments. Therefore, it is high time we put the clock back by adopting a practice like natural farming to rejuvenate Mother Earth and restore the organic carbon and other critical elements, including the helpful bacteria and the earthworms, back into the soil. Sir, I too was not very familiar with natural farming till recently, but hearing about it from our Honorable Prime Minister in various speeches, I discussed it with eminent experts like Acharya Devrat ji Honorable Governor of Gujarat, and Padma Shri Dr. Hari Om, who are leading this initiative. I am convinced about its overwhelming benefits. It is really the need of the hour. We need to act on a war footing with a sense of urgency. So I would request the government to set up easily accessible, specialized procurement centers for this natural produce, as the farmers will get a much higher price for this produce, increasing the farmers' income. Also, this would help us in becoming Atmanirbhar in case of fertilizers, and we will not have to import any fertilizers from outside. Honorable Sir, the second issue that I wish to speak about is skill development. It is an issue which is very close to my heart. In my view, skill development is the most important issue for young India. While we speak extensively about unemployment, we hardly speak about the shortage of skilled workforce for the Indian industry. I would like to thank the Honorable Prime Minister for making education and skilling aspirational through National Credit Framework. To facilitate this, the government has announced upgradation of 1,000 ITIs by upgrading infrastructure for skilling in future technology and training of the trainers. I would like to make some suggestions, sir, as I have seen a lot of ITIs all over the country. Most of these ITIs that we have, they only work one shift. If they start to work two shifts, they'll be able to train double the number of students. Also, they could be producing goods for the market. Once they are producing goods for the market, they will not have any shortage of raw materials to practice on. So we also need to ensure high quality training and standards. We need to have tie-up with the best skilling institutes in the world so that their curriculum and courses are approved by them and our courses are recognized internationally. Sir, our students need to be trained in artificial intelligence, robotics, instrumentation and automation, hydraulics, mechatronics, machine learning, Internet of Things, etc. They need to be trained in good spoken English and other soft skills. As once they're well trained, they'll be able to work for big companies in India, they'll be able to start their own ventures, or if they wish to go abroad, they'll be able to go abroad through legitimate channels and not having to resort to donkey routes. We need to have a scheme to operate them under public-private partnership mode as not-for-profit institutions, as this will solve the challenge of hiring top-class trainers in new technology. Some ITIs, sir, could also be working as repair shops where people can take their tractors, their cars, and the students will get real-time experience, and while they are learning. So I'm also deeply impressed by the vision of internships on large scale in the top 500 companies to create skilled workforce in the country. I assure this August House through you, sir, of making it a huge success in our company, Jindal Steel and Power. सभापति जी, कौशल विकास पर बोलते हुए मैं बहुत भावनाओं से भरा हुआ हूं, क्योंकि मुझे मेरे प्रेरणा स्रोत मेरे पिता श्री ओपी जिंदल जी की याद आ रही है, जो 11वीं लोकसभा के सदस्य थे। उन्होंने अपने हाथों से हल चलाने से लेकर अपने हाथों से स्टील उद्योग के अंदर काम किया। बाबूजी कारखानों में काम करने वालों के कौशल व सम्मान पर सदैव ध्यान देते थे। वो हाथ से काम करने वालों को भगवान विश्वकर्मा का स्वरूप मानते थे और इंजीनियर्स को भी उनसे सलाह लेने को कहते थे। अध्यक्ष जी, श्री ओपी जिंदल जी ने देश को स्टील के उत्पादन में आत्मनिर्भर बनाने के लिए व पिछड़े और दलितों को उनका पूरा सम्मान दिलाने के लिए अपना जीवन समर्पित कर दिया। उनके उच्च आदर्शों से प्रेरणा लेते हुए मैं आज आपके माध्यम से इस गरिमामय सदन में मैं संकल्प करता हूं कि विश्व के धर्म क्षेत्र और मेरे कर्म क्षेत्र हरियाणा के कुरुक्षेत्र और कैथल जिले में तथा छत्तीसगढ़ के रायगढ़ जिले के अंदर हम भारत के सबसे अच्छे नहीं बल्कि दुनिया के सबसे अच्छे हम विकास कौशल केंद्र हम स्थापित करेंगे। सभापति जी, हम यह भी सुनिश्चित करेंगे कि हमारे हरियाणा के सभी ITI और वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट भी हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी की अपेक्षाओं के अनुरूप उच्च कोटि का प्रदर्शन करें। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कौशल विकास और उद्यमिता मंत्रालय की जिम्मेदारी जयंत चौधरी जी को दी है। वो खुद एक युवा है और हमें विश्वास है कि इसके अंदर वो बहुत अच्छा काम करके दिखाएंगे। अध्यक्ष जी, मैं जिस क्षेत्र से आता हूं वह विश्व का धर्म क्षेत्र है। ऋग्वेद एवं सामवेद की रचना इसी धर्म क्षेत्र कुरुक्षेत्र में हुई। यहीं पर महाभारत के दौरान भगवान श्री कृष्ण ने गीता का उपदेश दिया। हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री के नेतृत्व में केंद्र सरकार ने पिछले 10 वर्षों में हरियाणा और गीता स्थली कुरुक्षेत्र के विकास के लिए बहुत कुछ किया है, जिसके लिए हम हरियाणा वासी उनके बहुत आभारी हैं। मैं हरियाणा के मेरे कुछ माननीय साथियों द्वारा बजट की चर्चा के दौरान हरियाणा की अनदेखी की बात पर मैं 2 शब्द कहना चाहूँगा। अगर वो बजट को ध्यान से पढ़ेंगे तो वो पाएंगे कि इस सर्वजन हिताय सर्वजन सुखाय बजट में हरियाणा के लिए भी विभिन्न योजनाओं के अंतर्गत बहुत धन का आवंटन किया गया है। उनकी जानकारी के लिए मैं संक्षेप में बता देता हूं कि वर्ष 2024-25 में 13,600 करोड़ से भी अधिक की राशि हरियाणा को प्राप्त होगी। नेचुरल फार्मिंग यानी प्राकृतिक खेती की योजना, जिसके बारे में मैंने विस्तार से कहा, अभी हरियाणा के अंदर केवल 6,000 एकड़ के अंदर ही हमारे किसान भाई इसका प्रयोग कर रहे हैं। अगर हम सब मिलकर काम करें तो इसको 6,000 से हम 6 लाख एकड़ के अंदर हम लोगों को इसको करवा सकते हैं और इससे हमारे किसानों का व्यय कम होगा और उनकी आमदनी दुगनी हो सकती है। अध्यक्ष जी, कौशल विकास के लिए आवंटित 2 लाख करोड़ की धनराशि से हरियाणा के युवाओं को भी भरपूर लाभ मिलेगा। एमएसएमई से संबद्ध योजनाओं से हरियाणा की लगभग 1,16,000 इकाइयां भी लाभान्वित होंगी। प्रधानमंत्री सूर्य घर मुफ्त बिजली योजना, जिसके अंतर्गत ग्रामीणों को घरों के अंदर मुफ्त बिजली मिलेगी, वो भी जल्दी चालू होने वाली है। अध्यक्ष जी, आपके माध्यम से मेरा हरियाणा के सभी माननीय सांसदों से आग्रह है कि इस बजट की जनहितकारी प्रावधानों से अपने हलके के लोगों को अवश्य अवगत कराएं ताकि वे इन कल्याणकारी योजनाओं का पूरा लाभ उठा सकें। अध्यक्ष जी, मैं सदन में उपस्थित अपने सभी साथियों से यह आग्रह करूंगा कि इस बजट का समर्थन करें, क्योंकि राष्ट्र निर्माण एक महायज्ञ है जिसमें सभी से आहुति अपेक्षित है। अध्यक्ष जी, आपने मुझे बजट पर बोलने का मौका दिया, मैं इसलिए आपका बहुत आभारी हूँ। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।